Welcome back to Faults and Fixes. Today I'm talking about the start of your backswing. That's one of the places where the most mistakes are happening in your golf swing. Rather than telling you all the things you can do wrong when you start your golf swing, I thought it'd just be better to just tell you how to make a start to a backswing. And that way you can get to work straight away. You're going to need two sticks, alignment sticks on the ground. One of them you're going to put on the ground so that it's pointing at your target. The second one you want to put at the end of the first stick into the ground at the angle that the golf club in your hand would normally sit in the address position. Once you've got that sorted, which is obviously not as easy as it looks, you're ready to start. I think in any movement, the standing start is the most difficult. So the majority of golfers will actually never come to a total stop before they take the club away. Jack Nicklaus was well known for holding the club slightly off the ground before he actually took the club away. The forward press is something which a lot of golfers have actually got unconsciously into their swing for exactly this reason. And that means that if you are starting your golf swing, if you can keep yourself kind of moving your weight between your feet, the feeling of a small forward press, pressing almost into the lead side before taking it back, that I would heartily recommend, because moving away from a total still position with the club basically resting under its own weight on the ground is more than difficult. The second thing to understand is that when you're moving the club away from the ball, you want it to be moving back in plane. In plane means that the club is basically not changing its original angle. Unfortunately, the club wants to change its original angle, and that's because the weight of the head is obviously greater than the weight of the grip. So the weight of the head is trying to push the head down, and that will push the grip up. But you're holding the grip. You don't have to allow that to happen. So one of the things we were talking about in the last series was getting the heel of your lead hand on top of the club so that you can apply enough pressure to the top of the club to stop yourself losing the angle of the club at the start of the backswing. But it's this combination of movements which is so difficult. You're trying to move the club around a central axis which is in the middle of your shoulders, which means you've got to be moving your shoulders also in the same angle, or as close as you can get to that angle, which means you need a good spine angle of around about 100 degrees to the club. So you don't want to be bent too much over, otherwise you're likely to get steep on it. You don't want to be too upright, other you're likely to get flat on it. Getting around about that 100 degree angle will allow you to get your lead shoulder down, which will help you to get your arms and the club up. But what exactly should you be thinking about? Well, in my experience, the best way to start the club back is a combination of feelings based around the movement of your lead shoulder. Once you have actually made your forward press or loaded your lead side and you've coming back into the center, that's when you start your backswing. And as you start your backswing, you must have the feeling of the lead shoulder moving down into the middle of your stance. So that is the first thing you're feeling. There's a contraction of your stomach muscles, which is helping you to pull the lead shoulder down, an extension of your back muscles. Depending on how mobile you are in your lower body, you might be able to do this without any lower body movement, but usually you will find that your hips are going to be pulled around by your shoulders, and this is perfectly okay. You don't want to be resisting that in any way. As you're doing that, your lead arm is actually being pressed down. Keeping the lead arm straight at this point is very important, because if you were to bend your lead arm You would then actually change the angle unconsciously of the club. You would take pressure away from your hand on the grip end, and you are likely to change the angle of the club to the ground. So as you press and turn your lead shoulder down, you are pushing an extended arm down towards the ground. And obviously this is having the impact of pressing down with the heel of your lead hand on the grip. This will automatically help the club head to not only stay up, but to actually move up in plane. So I know in other videos I've told you to kind of keep the angle of the club until around about the trail thigh and then really think about the hinging. I would actually like you today to experiment with allowing the feeling of it hinging immediately. Obviously you don't want to be cocking the wrist up immediately, bending the trail hand back, but I have no problem if by applying pressure to the butt end of the club, you get a feeling of the club head becoming lighter. And this will happen simply because you're applying more pressure to the handle than gravity is applying to the head. And that will give you the feeling that the club wants to go up. And it's this feeling of the club wanting to go up that we're looking for at the start of the backswing. Up to round about chest height, you simply apply more and more pressure out and away from yourself with the heel of your hand, keeping that lead arm extended and hinging that trail arm back, getting this kind of feeling as if you were going to take it back over your shoulders into this kind of what we call kind of waiter position. Again, for the start of your backswing, we're not wanting to hinge immediately, but we are not wanting to stop the wrists from hinging immediately. I think in an awful lot of lessons, in order to explain it to you, we get into such detail that we're almost killing ourselves in the detail, rather than simply allowing a flowing movement to happen. If I need my hands to be totally hinged by the time I get to chest height, for instance, why not start slightly hinging right from the very beginning? If I am lifting my arms up over my trail shoulder, why not just start lifting my arms right from the very beginning of my backswing? And this is more or less all that I want you to do when you're making a backswing. The stick in the ground will give you feedback. Firstly, that you're not moving away from the stick too much, you're not moving behind the stick. At the same time, the hinging of the wrist is actually taking place in such a way that it is moving the club up in its extension to the ball, and that will be the feeling of the club becoming lighter as you move the club away from the ball. Being able to do this means almost being certain that the club will be in the right place at the top of your backswing, and you just have to accelerate it through the ball. It's unbelievable how many golf swings are really finished after a half meter or a half a yard of backswing. For the good or the bad, you can do a lot right and a lot wrong at the very beginning of your backswing. Go out there, practice it, get it right. And if it helps you, get back and hit that like button because it helps the channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done yet. I've got all kinds of faults and fixes coming up for you in the next weeks. Thanks again to all of my patrons. I will leave a link below if you'd like to become a patron to the channel as well. Until the next time, look after yourselves. Goodbye.